Tom wiped the sweat from his forehead as he floated through the narrow corridor of the International Space Station. The artificial gravity was malfunctioning again, and he had been tasked with checking each storage unit in Section C. Being the newest maintenance technician meant getting all the boring jobs that no one else wanted to do. His tablet beeped, showing unusual energy readings from Storage Unit 47. He frowned at the screen, tapping it twice to make sure it wasn't another glitch. The readings were off the charts. Something was using power in a storage unit that shouldn't have any active equipment. Control, this is Maintenance Tech Thompson. I'm picking up strange readings from Unit 47. Permission to investigate. Tom spoke into his comm device. Permission granted. Keep us updated, the controller replied. Tom pushed himself toward the storage unit, using the handrails along the walls to guide his movement. After 6 months on the station, he had gotten better at zero-gravity navigation, but it still felt awkward sometimes. The storage unit looked normal from the outside, just another gray metal door with standard safety markings. Tom punched in his access code, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, everything appeared to be in order. Standard supply boxes, equipment cases, and emergency gear. But his tablet was going crazy. The energy signature was definitely coming from somewhere in this room. Tom pulled himself inside and started examining the containers one by one. Most were exactly what their labels claimed they were: spare parts, dried food, medical supplies. But when he reached a box marked atmospheric filters, something felt off. The box was warm to the touch, and there was a faint humming sound coming from inside. That's weird, Tom muttered to himself. Atmospheric filters didn't generate heat or make noise. He checked the manifest on his tablet. This box wasn't even supposed to be here. According to the records, Unit 47 shouldn't have any filter units at all. With careful movements, Tom opened the box. His eyes widened as he stared at what was definitely not an atmospheric filter. The device inside was like nothing he had ever seen before. It was roughly the size of a microwave, but its surface seemed to shift and change colors as he watched. Symbols he didn't recognize scrolled across what looked like a holographic display. "Control, we have a situation here," Tom reported, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I've found some kind of unknown device. It's active and appears to be highly advanced technology." There was a long pause before Control responded. "Stand by, Thompson. Security team is en route." Tom continued to examine the device, careful not to touch it. His mind raced with possibilities. Could this be some kind of secret government experiment? Industrial espionage? The technology looked too advanced for either option. The device suddenly pulsed with a soft blue light, and more symbols appeared on its display. Tom noticed they were changing, almost as if responding to his presence. He leaned closer, fascinated by the patterns. That's when he heard footsteps behind him, which should have been impossible in zero gravity. "I wouldn't get too close to that if I were you," a female voice said. Tom spun around to face Dr. Lisa White, one of the senior researchers on the station. She was floating in the doorway, but something was different about her. For a split second, Tom thought he saw her image flicker, like a bad television signal. "Dr. White, do you know what this is?" Tom asked, gesturing toward the device. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's a long story, Mr. Thompson. One that's about to make your life very interesting." She reached for the door control panel, and Tom noticed her hand seemed to shimmer in the light. "I think it's time we had a talk about what's really going on aboard this station," she said, sealing the door behind her. Tom had a feeling his routine maintenance check had just become anything but routine. Tom felt his stomach tighten as Dr. White sealed them inside Storage Unit 47. The mysterious device continued to pulse with its soft blue light, casting strange shadows across the small space. "First, I need you to understand that what you're about to see isn't a trick," Dr. White said, her voice calm but firm. "And what happens in the next few minutes must remain between us." Before Tom could respond, warning sirens blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights began flashing in the corridor outside. Warning. Pressure PDETTTED in CCTIONC. All personnel. Initiate emergency protocols. The station's automated system announced. Tom reached for his emergency oxygen mask, but Dr. White remained oddly still. The device in the storage unit started pulsing faster, its blue light growing brighter. Dr. White, we need tow. Tom's words died in his throat as he watched the impossible happen. The air around Dr. White began to ripple like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Her image flickered violently, like a broken hologram. For a brief moment, Tom saw two versions of her overlapping: the human researcher he knew, and something entirely different. The pressure alarm continued to blare as the holographic disguise failed completely. Where Dr. White had been floating, there now hovered a being that defied everything Tom thought he knew about life in the universe. Her true form was breathtaking. Her skin was iridescent, shifting between deep purple and bright silver like the surface of a soap bubble. Where human hair would be, delicate crystalline structures caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the walls. Her eyes were larger, with pupils that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. Tom's mind struggled to process what he was seeing. He backed away until he hit the wall of the storage unit, his breath coming in short gasps. "Please try to stay calm," the being said, still using Dr. White's voice. The pressure drop was a false alarm. I triggered it to give us privacy. No one is in danger. The device in the storage unit chirped, and the alien reached out to touch it with a six-fingered hand. The pressure alarm immediately silenced. You're not human," Tom managed to say, stating the obvious. The alien smiled, an expression that looked surprisingly natural on her otherworldly features. "No, I'm not. And now we have a situation to deal with." Tom's training kicked in, helping him focus despite his shock. How long have you been here?" 3 of your Earth years. I've been gathering data, observing how humans might react to eventual contact with other civilizations." She gestured to the device. "This is my communication and disguise control unit. It malfunctioned today, which is why you detected its energy signature." Tom's mind raced with questions. Are there others? Yes, but I can't tell you who or where. That information is classified. She moved closer, her movements graceful in zero gravity. "What I can tell you is that I'm not supposed to be discovered. This complicates things significantly. Are you going to eliminate me?" Tom asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "No, Mr. Thompson. We're not that kind of civilization. But I do need to decide what to do about this situation." She paused, studying him with those galaxy-filled eyes. "You're handling this remarkably well." "I think I'm in shock," Tom admitted. "This morning I was fixing air filters, and now I'm talking to an alien disguised as one of our researchers." "Not just any alien," she said, her expression becoming more serious. "I should properly introduce myself. In your language, my title would translate roughly to Princess of the Stellar Confederation. And you, Tom Thompson, have just become the first human to make official first contact, even if it was completely by accident." The device chirped again, more urgently this time. "We don't have much time," she said. "Others will be here soon to investigate the pressure alarm. Are you willing to help me maintain my cover while we figure this out?" Tom looked at the alien princess, then at the device, and finally at his own hands, still trembling slightly. He took a deep breath and made a decision that would change his life forever. "Yes," he said. "I'll help." The sound of footsteps in the corridor made both Tom and the alien princess freeze. With quick movements, she touched the device again, and her human disguise shimmered back into place. Just in time, the storage unit door slid open to reveal the station's security team. "Everything all right in here?" asked Officer James, his eyes scanning the room. "We got alerts about pressure loss and unauthorized energy signatures." Tom glanced at Dr. White, or rather, the princess in disguise, who gave him a subtle nod. "Just a malfunction in some of the monitoring equipment," Tom said, surprised at how steady his voice sounded. "Dr. White helped me identify the issue. We've got it under control now." The security team seemed satisfied with this explanation and left after a quick check of their equipment. Once they were gone, the princess sealed the door again. "You handled that well," she said, maintaining her human appearance but speaking in her natural voice, a sound that reminded Tom of wind chimes and flowing water. "Now, we need to discuss protocols." She waved her hand over the mysterious device, and a holographic display filled the air between them. Symbols and images danced in the space, showing what looked like star maps and complex diagrams. "The Stellar Confederation has strict rules about first contact scenarios," she explained. "When a civilization is discovered, we observe them until they reach certain technological and social milestones. Earth is complicated." "Complicated how?" Tom asked, finding himself more curious than afraid now. "Your species develops technology at an incredible rate, but your social progress is uneven. Some humans are ready for contact, others aren't. That's why we're here, to help determine the right time and method for official first contact." The holographic display shifted to show various locations on Earth. Tom recognized cities, research facilities, and what appeared to be other space stations. "There are 17 observation posts on your planet and in orbit," she continued, "each staffed by observers like myself. We take great care to blend in, study your cultures, and evaluate humanity's readiness." Tom watched as the display zoomed in on their current location. "But I've discovered you. Doesn't that break your protocols?" The princess's human disguise flickered slightly as she sighed. "Yes and no. There are contingency plans for accidental discovery. But my status complicates things further." She manipulated the device again, and new images appeared, elaborate structures that seemed to float in space, beings of various forms, all displaying the same crystalline features she had. "As a member of the royal family, I'm not just an observer. I'm a diplomatic representative. My presence here was meant to be purely covered, but now—" She paused, studying Tom carefully. "Now you've become part of something much bigger." "What do you mean?" Tom asked, though he had a feeling he knew where this was going. "According to our protocols, when a native discovers us, we have 3 options: complete memory erasure, immediate extraction, or," she hesitated, "integration into the observation program." Tom felt his heart skip a beat. "And which option are you choosing?" The princess smiled, her human disguise dropping completely again. "I've been watching humans for 3 years. Your curiosity, your adaptability, your determination, these qualities are remarkable. And you, Tom Thompson, have shown exceptional composure in an extraordinary situation." She reached out and touched the device one last time. A small crystal emerged from its surface, glowing with a soft inner light. "I'm choosing integration. This crystal will allow you to see through our disguises and communicate securely with me. You'll help me understand humanity from a new perspective, and in return, you'll learn about us." Tom stared at the crystal, his hand hovering uncertainly above it. "What if I'm not ready for this responsibility?" "The fact that you're asking that question suggests you are," she replied. "Besides, you've already proven yourself trustworthy. Few humans would have remained as calm as you did when seeing my true form." The crystal pulsed gently, waiting for his decision. Tom took a deep breath and wrapped his fingers around it. The moment he touched it, warmth spread through his body, and suddenly he could see faint outlines of energy all around him. The technology that had been hidden in plain sight all along. "Welcome," the princess said, "to your new role in galactic diplomacy." The next day on the space station felt surreal to Tom. The crystal the princess had given him hung on a thin chain around his neck, hidden under his uniform. Through it, he could now see the subtle signs of alien technology scattered throughout the station, slight distortions in the air, faint energy signatures that no human instruments could detect. During his regular maintenance rounds, the princess contacted him through the crystal. Her voice appeared directly in his mind, clear as a bell. "Meet me in Observation Module 3. There's something you need to know." When Tom arrived, he found her already there, staring out at Earth through the large window. She kept her human disguise active, since other crew members occasionally passed by. "Your planet is at a crossroads," she said without turning around. "The Stellar Confederation isn't the only galactic power watching Earth." Tom moved to stand beside her. "What do you mean?" She waved her hand, and the crystal around his neck responded, creating a private holographic display visible only to them. It showed various alien ships in Earth's orbit, all hidden by advanced cloaking technology. "3 major factions are debating Earth's future," she explained. "The Confederation believes in careful, gradual contact. The Progressive Alliance wants immediate full disclosure, and the Isolation Council thinks Earth should be left alone entirely." The display showed representatives from each faction, beings of different forms and compositions, some barely comprehensible to human eyes. My presence here was meant to gather unbiased data to help make this decision. But now, she turned to face Tom. "Your discovery of me has attracted attention. The Progressive Alliance sees it as proof that humans are ready for contact." "And the others?" Tom asked, watching the holographic aliens debate in silent motion. "The Isolation Council is demanding I leave Earth immediately. They say this breach proves humans are too unpredictable." She paused, her disguise flickering slightly with emotion. "But I believe this is an opportunity." A new alert flashed through Tom's crystal. His eyes widened as he interpreted the information. "More observers are coming. Representatives from each faction want to evaluate the situation personally. They'll be arriving disguised as a new crew rotation." She looked troubled. "This station is about to become the center of a galactic diplomatic crisis." Tom ran his hand through his hair, feeling the weight of the situation. "What do they expect from me?" "Each faction will try to use your reaction to prove their point. The Progressives will look for signs of acceptance and understanding. The Isolationists will watch for fear or aggression." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "But I need you to just be yourself. Your natural reactions might help us find the right path forward." "No pressure," Tom muttered, managing a weak smile. The crystal pulsed with new information, showing arrival times for the alien representatives. They had less than a week before the station would become a hidden diplomatic forum. "There's more," the princess said quietly. "Some on my world believe I've failed in my mission by being discovered. They're questioning whether a royal should have been sent at all. My future role in the Confederation could depend on how this situation resolves." Tom felt a surge of protectiveness toward her. Despite her alien nature and royal status, he'd come to see her as a friend over the past day. "What do you think should happen?" he asked. "With Earth, I mean." She was quiet for a moment, her disguised form silhouetted against the blue curve of Earth below. "I think humanity deserves the chance to join the galactic community, but on your own terms and in your own time. That's what I'll argue for." The crystal suddenly flashed a warning. Other crew members were approaching. "We'll continue this later," she whispered, straightening her human disguise. "Remember, watch everything, but reveal nothing. The next few weeks will determine not just your future, but possibly the future of human-alien relations for centuries to come." As Tom left the observation module, he couldn't help but feel that his simple maintenance job had somehow turned into the most important diplomatic mission in human history. The crystal hummed softly against his chest, a constant reminder of the incredible responsibility he now carried. The new crew members arrived exactly as the princess had warned. Through his crystal, Tom could see through their disguises, each one unique and fascinating in their true form. They integrated themselves into the station's routine, taking on roles ranging from researchers to maintenance staff. Tom continued his normal duties, but now he noticed how they watched him. The Progressive Alliance representative, disguised as Dr. Reed, would engage him in long conversations about Earth's culture and technology. The Isolation Council's observer, posing as Engineer Martinez, seemed to note every time Tom showed the slightest sign of stress or unease. During a routine maintenance check, Tom found himself working alongside both alien representatives in the station's hydroponics bay. "Your species has such interesting methods of growing food in space," Dr. Reed commented. "Their human disguise perfect, but their enthusiasm barely contained. So innovative, despite your limited technology." Engineer Martinez made a disapproving sound. "Yet they struggle to maintain these simple systems. Perhaps they aren't ready for more advanced methods." Tom focused on fixing the water recycling unit, pretending not to notice the underlying meaning of their conversation. The princess had taught him that sometimes the best response was no response at all. "What do you think, Thompson?" Dr. Reed asked directly. "Would your people welcome help in advancing these systems?" Tom carefully considered his answer as he adjusted the filtration settings. "I think we appreciate learning new things, but we also take pride in solving problems ourselves. It's not about having the most advanced solution. It's about understanding how we got there." Through his crystal, he saw both aliens' true forms ripple with interest at his response. Later that day, the princess contacted him through the crystal. "You're handling them well," she said, meeting him in a quiet corner of the station. "Your honest answers are making quite an impression." "I'm just trying not to mess this up for humanity," Tom replied, checking a panel that didn't really need checking, maintaining their cover. "That's exactly why you're perfect for this role," she said. "You're not trying to impress anyone. You're just being human." The crystal suddenly pulsed with urgent energy. More disguised aliens were appearing on the station, observers who weren't supposed to be there. "The news of your discovery has spread," the princess explained quickly. "Other civilizations are sending their own representatives. The station is becoming a gathering point." Tom watched as 3 new crew members arrived through the docking bay, each wearing human disguises, but carrying their own unique energy signatures that his crystal could detect. "How many more are coming?" he asked, trying to keep the worry from his voice. "Too many. This could get out of control." The princess's human disguise showed genuine concern. "Each new arrival increases the risk of discovery by the rest of your crew." As if to prove her point, they overheard 2 regular crew members nearby discussing strange occurrences on the station. "Have you noticed how weird everyone's acting lately?" one asked the other. "And all these new transfers. Something doesn't feel right." Tom made a decision. "Let me talk to them. The aliens, I mean. Not as representatives or observers, but just person to person. Maybe if they see us as individuals rather than a species to judge, it'll help." The princess studied him for a moment. "That's not in any protocol." "Maybe that's the problem," Tom said. "You've all been watching us from a distance. Perhaps it's time for a closer look." She was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "I'll arrange it, but be careful. You'll be speaking to beings who have observed countless civilizations rise and fall. They may not all appreciate advice from a younger species." Tom smiled slightly. "Then I'll just have to show them that sometimes the youngest person in the room has something worth saying." As he returned to his duties, Tom could feel the weight of multiple alien gazes following him. Through his crystal, he saw their true forms shifting with curiosity and judgment. The future of human-alien relations might depend on his actions, but for the first time, he felt ready for the challenge. He was just a maintenance technician who had walked into something extraordinary, but maybe that's exactly what both humanity and the aliens needed right now. Someone ordinary to bridge the extraordinary gap between their worlds. The situation on the space station reached a breaking point faster than anyone expected. Tom's crystal alerted him to a massive energy surge in the lower storage section, where the princess's communication device was hidden. "Emergency," her voice echoed in his mind through the crystal. "The Progressive Alliance is making their move." Tom rushed to Storage Unit 47, only to find 3 disguised aliens already there. Their human forms flickered as they worked on a device much larger than the princess's communicator. "Stop," the princess commanded, appearing behind Tom. "This is a direct violation of Confederation law." The leader of the group, still maintaining a human disguise as Dr. Reed, turned to face them. The time for waiting is over. Humanity has proven itself ready through this one. They gestured toward Tom. Through his crystal, Tom could see the true form of the device they were activating. A massive broadcast array designed to pierce every communications system on Earth. They're going to force first contact, the princess said, her voice tight with concern. They're planning to reveal everything to everyone at once. That would cause panic, Tom said, stepping forward. You can't just. We can, and we will, Dr. Reed interrupted. The people of Earth deserve to know the truth. The device hummed louder, its energy signature growing stronger. Tom's crystal showed him the waves of power it was beginning to emit, waves that would soon reach every television, radio, and computer on Earth. Think about what you're doing, Tom pleaded. I'm just one person, and it took me time to process all this. You can't force this on billions of people at once. Your adaptation to our presence proves. Dr. Reed began, but Tom cut them off. It proves nothing. I had help. I had the princess to guide me, to explain things. Who's going to explain things to everyone else? Who's going to prevent panic? The device's hum reached a fever pitch. Through his crystal, Tom could see other disguised aliens rushing to the storage unit, drawn by the energy signature. The princess stepped forward, her human disguise falling away completely. As a royal representative of the Confederation, I order you to stand down. Your authority is being questioned already, Dr. Reed countered. The progressives have support from 3 major systems. Tom looked between them, then at the device. In that moment, he remembered something from his maintenance training, about how systems sometimes needed to be shut down to be saved. Without warning, he lunged for the station's emergency controls. Before anyone could stop him, he hit the master power switch for the entire section. The lights went out. The artificial gravity flickered. And in the darkness, all the alien disguises failed at once. Through his crystal, Tom could see them all in their true forms, beautiful, terrifying, and completely exposed to any human who might come to investigate the power loss. Now, he said into the darkness, we all have a problem. If anyone comes to check this section, they'll see all of you. So maybe instead of forcing humanity to face the truth, you need to face a truth yourselves. We have to work together on this. The storage unit was silent except for the soft glow of various alien forms. Tom continued, you've all been arguing about whether humanity is ready. But maybe the real question is, are you ready for us? Ready to accept that we might have our own ideas about how this should happen? The princess was the first to speak. He's right. This situation proves we need a new approach. One by one, the aliens reactivated their disguises. Dr. Reed's group stepped away from their device, which now sat dark and dormant. Perhaps, Dr. Reed admitted, we were too eager to force a solution. The power came back on as emergency systems kicked in. Tom looked at the assembled aliens, all once again appearing human, and managed a small smile. Instead of showing humanity that aliens exist, he suggested, why not show them why aliens would want to be our friends? The princess placed a hand on his shoulder. That, she said, sounds like a diplomatic solution worthy of both our peoples. 3 months after the crisis in Storage Unit 47, Tom stood in the station's main observation module, watching Earth rotate slowly below. His crystal hummed warmly against his chest, now a familiar comfort rather than a strange alien device. The princess floated beside him, maintaining her human disguise, even though they were alone. The Confederation Council has made their decision, she said softly. Tom nodded, remembering the long discussions that had followed the Progressive Alliance's attempted forced disclosure. And they're implementing what they're calling the Thompson Protocol. She smiled at his surprised expression. Your handling of the crisis impressed a lot of important beings. Through his crystal, Tom could see the subtle changes that had already begun. Small alien observation posts, previously hidden, were being gradually modified to become more noticeable to Earth's scientists. Strange but not alarming signals were being allowed to reach Earth's telescopes. Instead of sudden revelation or endless hiding, the princess explained, "We're letting humanity discover us at their own pace. Leaving breadcrumbs, you might say. Giving Earth time to ask questions before getting answers," Tom added, understanding the strategy. The crystal showed him more. Alien ships deliberately allowing themselves to be glimpsed at high altitudes, mysterious but harmless signals appearing in radio telescopes, and unexplainable but fascinating phenomena that would make humans think and wonder. "You've been promoted," the princess said suddenly. "The Confederation wants you to help coordinate the transition. You'll work with observers to decide what hints to leave, what questions to answer." Tom turned to her, surprised. "Me? But I'm just a maintenance technician." "You're the human who showed us that the best way to handle first contact was to let humanity guide the process." She dropped her disguise briefly, her true form glowing with warm colors. "You taught us that sometimes the best path forward is the gradual one." Through his crystal, Tom watched as more disguised aliens arrived at the station, not as infiltrators now, but as preparation for the day when they could be themselves. "How long?" he asked. "How long until full contact?" "That depends on humanity," she replied, her disguise returning. "We estimate anywhere from 5 to 20 Earth years. The important thing is, it will happen when your people are ready and asking for it, not when we decide to force it." Tom's crystal pulsed with new information, his new duties, responsibilities, and the teams he would be working with. It was overwhelming but exciting. "There's one more thing," the princess said. "My father, the king of the Confederation, wants to meet you. Not immediately, but soon. Your actions here have changed our approach to emerging civilizations across the galaxy." Tom laughed softly. "All because I walked in unexpectedly and found an alien princess." She smiled. "Sometimes the best discoveries are the unexpected ones." The station's lights dimmed as it entered its night cycle. Through his crystal, Tom could see the hidden alien technology throughout the station glowing softly, no longer completely concealed, but not obvious either. Just noticeable enough to make humans wonder, to make them look up at the stars with more curiosity than fear. "Ready for your first official day as a galactic diplomat?" the princess asked. Tom touched his crystal, feeling its warm response. "Ready as I'll ever be. Though I might need some help with the diplomatic part." "Just keep being yourself," she said. "That's what got us here in the first place." As they floated in the observation module, Earth turning below them, and the stars shining above, Tom realized that his accidental discovery had turned into something much bigger than himself. He had become a bridge between two worlds, helping to guide humanity toward its greatest discovery at its own pace. The crystal pulsed one last time, showing him images of the future, a future where humans and aliens work together openly, where the barriers between civilizations fell away naturally rather than being torn down. It all started because he had walked in unexpectedly. Sometimes, Tom thought, that's all it takes to change the universe.